Today we're going to talk about a story out of the University of Kentucky that you may have seen viral videos for, where an attractive blonde white woman was caught on video using the N-word in a drunken tirade against an employee that was working at the dorm that was a student employee. Now, we're going to cover this story, we're going to talk about this video, we're going to go over this, but I don't want to focus on what most of the mainstream media is focusing on, about how this is indicative of evil white racism. Finally, and I mean finally, we have an example of a white person being racist. Let's all profit off of it, and let's all talk about it. I actually want to talk about what went on with this video and how it got distributed to the public, and how, in reality, this story is far more reflective of the vicious nature of the sober person rather than the drunk girl who went on her tirade. But before we get into that, this video is in fact sponsored, so I'm going to toss it to the sponsor, then we'll bring it back over here and we'll discuss everything on the other side. Noble Gold Investments is here to let you know that gold is among the top class of investments for 2023. In fact, according to longtermtrends.net, gold actually outperformed the S&P 500 and Bitcoin for the entire year of 2022. So what are you waiting for? Start a precious metals IRA with Noble Gold Investments today, and if you transfer or start out with $50,000 or more, you will be gifted an American quarter-of-an-ounce gold coin, which is a great keepsake for you. Again, visit them at noblegoldinvestments.com or call them at 877-646-5347. So the student in question at the center of this, the person labeled the villain, is a girl called Sophia Rosing. Now, obviously, you can see from the video, she's an attractive girl. I believe she was one of these Miss Kentuckys or Miss whatever state. Doesn't really matter. It's not really the point, but it's a perfect example of what people want to see because it aligns with all their biases, which is the downfall of an attractive blonde woman. And she came back to her dormitory because she was actually at the University of Kentucky late at night, drunk, and she didn't have her ID on her, or she wasn't willing to show her ID, so you have this student employee trying to stop her before she enters the building under the belief that she may not go here. Now, it is kind of funny that we have a story related to ID and the black person is carding the white person because the black person doesn't believe that she belongs there, because we have been told time and time again, when a white person dareth ask a black person for ID, that is an example of evil white racism. But let that irony go by the wayside because that's not really the focus of today's story. So, as you guys have probably seen, and I'm going to show you a censored version of the video, this is what followed.
Could you stop? No, thank you. I'm being honest with you. You ready? I did not get paid enough for this. Exactly. Thank you.
Now, let's be clear, and obviously I showed a censored version of that video. Sophia is calling her the N-word, hard R, and the B-word. She's doing so repeatedly, and there's been arguments about whether she did this 60 times or 200 times, but honestly, it only takes one time for it to be a viral incident. And yes, this became a viral incident.
I did not get paid enough for this. Exactly. Thank you.
To her credit, at this point, Kylah Spring is handling this in the best way humanly possible. She's not fighting her, she's not attacking her. We all know that if she would have started throwing hands at this drunken girl and beat the crap out of her, people would have supported her because this is a white person saying the no word, but she's laughing it off. She's having a good time. She's making fun of it. But then something else comes to mind, and something else really bothers me, and that is the other people behind the camera that are filming this whole thing. And there's one key point of the video that gets cut out by the local news because it's a bit inconvenient for their narrative, and that is this part right here.
You just kiss your entire future away, babe.
Multiple times, she's hit me twice. She's kicked me in the stomach.
Yeah, that's right. These girls know, the person who's holding her, the girl who's filming her, that they just got video of a white person saying the N-word, and thus they can use this to leverage it for fame and prosperity for themselves at the expense of this person's life. And they're telling this drunk girl that she just ruined her life, she destroyed her future, and to be real, that is exactly what happened. This was a senior at the University of Kentucky. She was immediately expelled. She was arrested. She got tagged not only for the assaults, which, let's be honest, she did commit. We can see them on video. They're technically alleged because she hasn't been convicted, but also for fighting back against a police officer, so she got a resisting arrest charge. And these girls know that they've won the day right here. That's why there's so much laughter and jubilation. And one of the things I find hilarious is watching this video, watching what actually happened, and watching how the news is describing what happened, because the news is saying that this girl begged the white girl to stop, that Kylah was in such fear, so sad, and all that, when in reality, you can see her smiling throughout the course of this. Kylah was not offended by what was going on. She had a drunk white girl, she knew her friend was filming it, so she was making a show of it.
As Spring is seen holding her off and begging her to stop.
I did not get paid enough for this.
Now again, you shouldn't call a black person the N-word. You shouldn't call anybody names. It's incredibly rude, and you shouldn't be swinging fists, and more importantly, if you are out, you should be able to control your liquor. You shouldn't get drunk to this point. This is totally disorderly conduct, totally improper behavior. This girl's a total mess, and she should face some consequences for her behavior on this campus. However, her life shouldn't be destroyed. She shouldn't have to be kicked out of university, barred from jobs forever, and all the other negative consequences, death threats, etc., because she did something that was regrettable while she was drunk. I mean, honestly, look at this girl, look at her face, look at how she's even saying these words with her lips moving in that weird way, and you can tell she is blasted out of her mind. Now look, being drunk doesn't absolve you of all accountability or all responsibility. She could still face charges for the assault. It's not like you can use "I was drunk" as a defense. If she got behind the wheel of a car and ended up hitting somebody, again, she would face charges for that, because being drunk is not a defense in that regard. But we're on a college campus, we're in a dorm. If some guy would have came up to her and asked her to come up to his room, and she would have consented to go up to his room, the school would have ruled that guy a sexual assaulter or a rapist or whatever, based on the idea that she is beyond the point of being able to be in control of her own decisions, despite her being a 22-year-old girl, and thus, that would be a sexual assault. That would be you taking advantage of her. Well, in this scenario, where they're filming this girl for the purpose of generating a viral video, and they know what they're getting at this time, is that not exploitation of a similar manner? I would argue it's actually worse, because you can actually recover, prosecute, get back at somebody, and have institutions on your side if you're victimized in that way. However, being victimized in this way isn't going to be any benefit to her. In fact, she is going to be condemned repeatedly, and nobody is going to ever offer her a hand or any kind of assistance in order to get out of the situation that she's actually in. And to be clear, the thing that I really am bothered by is how we went from this girl laughing, Kylah Spring having a good time, making fun of her, making japes about how, oh, I don't get paid enough to deal with this,
I did not get paid enough for this.
to all of a sudden crying and screaming at the center of the University of Kentucky.
My name is Kylah Spring. My name is Kylah Spring. Say your name.
Going on morning shows on the national media as if her life was truly negatively impacted in any way, shape, or form. In reality, we all know Kylah benefited greatly from this interaction. This girl got her life ruined, and more importantly, they deliberately released this video to better themselves at the expense of another person. They made a conscious decision, a luxury that was not afforded to Sophia Rosing in this moment because she was blasted out of her mind, to destroy this girl for their own personal profit, for their own personal benefit, all while hiding behind the virtue of playing the victim. So when I see this girl go from smiling, having a good time, laughing at the craziness and the bad behavior of this blonde girl in the moment, as her friend is filming it, saying, you're gonna ruin your life is over, we're gonna destroy you with this, to her all of a sudden getting ultra emotional and crying and screaming about how this is such a giant thing and she's a person and oh my god, I can't believe I had to deal with evil white racism. Holy crap, I'm so hurt by this. Please bring me on national television. I don't buy it. It is not legitimate. I find it to be disgusting, a farce, a show, because that's exactly what it is. You know, this girl started a GoFundMe. People donated $17,000 to this girl just because she got into this awkward encounter, deliberately had her friend film it, and destroyed somebody's life. That was the price of destroying another person that you knew was blasted out of their mind in the moment. I mean, think about it. If Kylah actually thought that she was in physical danger from these airball punches, and this was a sane, sober person actually being racist towards her, do you think she would have reacted with smiles? Do you think she would have been making faces at the camera, talking about how she doesn't get paid enough for this or anything like that? No, she would have hit her. We've seen this time and time again. The N-word being hurled vaguely in your direction is the thinnest of justifications for a black person to commit violence against a white person, and we've seen this play out, and we've seen the general public back them in that regard. But in this case, she knew in the moment that this was not that serious. She knew in the moment that she wasn't in danger. That's why she was laughing. That's why her friends were filming it rather than helping her, because she sensed no danger in this situation. Yet, when this goes viral, when this becomes a big deal, all of a sudden the tears come out, the sadness comes out, and then she gets trotted on to Good Morning America, or whatever the stupid CBS version of Good Morning America is, to do a national TV interview. She got nationally platformed for deliberately destroying a girl who, in all other regards on a college campus, would be considered too drunk to give verbal consent. So quite literally, this girl, if she said yes to a male person for a sexual encounter, those words wouldn't count. But for some reason, these words definitely count. They not only count in the moment, but they count forever till the end of time, whenever she wants to apply for a job or do anything in the future. And we need to hold her in basically internet purgatory or real world purgatory, whatever you want to call it, for the rest of her life, because they count forever. That's how they work. That's how this goes, according to what the left wing is portraying for us. Now let's go watch her on CBS Good Morning, whatever the stupid name of the stupid show is, so we can point out how absurd this actually is.
Now, in their first interview, and only on CBS Mornings, Kylah Spring and her mom, her mother's name is Betsy, join us here at the table. Welcome to you both. Kylah, a freshman, your first time away from home, a freshman student.
So I know that Devin Tracy did a video about this, and he pointed out that this white person over there looks incredibly uncomfortable. By the way, shout out to Devin Tracy. Still makes amazing content over at censored.tv. Use promo code AIU for a discount and to support him. Also available on Patreon and Subscribestar. Links will be in the description because he did cover this. But he is right. That white guy, incredibly uncomfortable. You could tell a lot in the body language. Also, the way that the CBS morning show loaded up the cast, they made sure to outnumber the white dude with 2 black people in order to go over this tragic story of a girl profiting off of the intentional destruction of a girl that she knew at the time was too drunk to know what she was doing in that moment.
It's heartbreaking to watch that video. Can you take us there, what you were thinking at the time while this was happening to you?
I was thinking that I know the drill. I was raised to act a certain way if I ever encounter a racial attack or assault. But I also was very disheartened that it happened to me while I was working. And I really just wanted to make sure I acted appropriately so that I could keep my job, because the script could have been flipped at any time if I had retaliated.
Is there any more fake processed answer that she could have given to that question? What were you thinking in that moment? Well, your thing is, Gail, what I was thinking was, I been trained my whole life to deal with the racist attack, and I knew I had to keep my composure because I didn't want to get fired, because you know what happens in the United States of America is when a black person gets a racial epithet thrown at them, they get fired for being upset about that. That's why I was so calm, and I got my friend to film it, and I was smiling at the camera, and we were like, your life is over, you stupid blonde girl. I mean, it was so somber. Oh, God, I felt so crushed because this was at my work and my university, which also makes it my home. Oh God, thank you for having me on. So just go to my GoFundMe. We're almost over our $10,000 goal.
First, you didn't think that she lived in the dorm. You really did wonder, is she okay? That was your first thing. And then she just...
Again, you shouldn't call somebody names. It's not good. You shouldn't call a black person the N-word. It is wrong to do. But also in the context of being in the United States of America, where people are looking desperately for racial incidents, it's incredibly stupid to do. But this idea that she was just, trying to help this girl, and she really believed that she didn't live in the dorm, but she was just so kind and so gracious in the moment, and then all of a sudden the Fire Nation attacked and the racial epithets came at her, It's absurd. She probably didn't think she lived in the dorm, so she was supposed to check IDs. The girl didn't present ID, so she was trying to not let her in the building. But as soon as those racial slurs came out, she was laughing. Her friend was filming. They were all having a great time. They were enjoying themselves. This video is 10 minutes long of this girl smiling and laughing and them saying that this blonde chick ruined her life.
You just kiss your entire future away, babe.
Multiple times, she's hit me twice. She's kicked me in the stomach.
And they're never, ever, ever upset about this or anything like that because they know they just won the great victory. They know that the racial grift, the lottery, actually rang their number and they're going to be able to profit over it. So please spare me the I'm going to come in a sport coat and look all prim and proper during the course of this interview and talk in this somber tone, because you intentionally destroyed somebody. If you were actually gracious, if you were actually a kind person, what you would have done is not release the video so that it could go viral and not intentionally destroy somebody's life so that you can profit. You only care about yourself. You have disdain for this girl. You wanted to hurt her because you knew you hurting her would benefit you. This is about revenge, not about any form of justice.
And we only saw a little part there. And Betsy, as her mother, at first, you did not want her to go public. You didn't want any of us to see that video. Why not?
Because I knew that it could go any way, how people respond to seeing the truth that this is not an isolated incident. This is something that happens. It just so happens to be on camera. And I honestly just struggled with what it would look like and feel like to have that disruption in our lives.
So the mother says that she didn't want her to come forward, and maybe this is true. Maybe the mother doesn't understand how this would be received by the internet. However, I don't really believe her because she can barely hold back a smile as she's telling this version of events, because the way that this game goes is that she pretends that all the evil white racists are going to come for you, and this is definitely going to ruin your life, even though never ever does this ruin the person's life who says this. Even people who do racialized hoaxes seem to skate by without any legal consequences. But then my daughter was like, you know what? I gotta stand up, not just for me, but for black people across this country in the United States of America. I have to stand up for all of them because a drunk girl called me a name and I got my friend to film it. And that is just something that happens each and every day in the United States of America. Drunk girl says a mean thing, she says a mean word, and that just brings us back to slavery times. I mean, it was like 1619 Project jettisoned its way into 2022, and we all have to feel the pain and suffering. But my mom was worried and overprotective of me, but worried because she knows about the evil white racist history of evil white racist America, evil white racist Kentucky, evil white racist.
And it was happening anyway. And Kylah, this is one time as a mom, I actually had to apologize to my daughter. I said, you know what, you're right. You want to share this that needs to be shared. I apologize. I'm behind you. I support you. And whatever you need, and got to her as quickly as I could.
Again, I told you exactly how I was going to go. I didn't want her to share it, but then I had to apologize for my daughter because she was right. This new generation is sweeping the nation. It's a sensation, and they are fighting back and fighting for racial representation.
I was afraid. I was in Texas working away from home anyway. My daughter's in Kentucky on campus, and I knew that you know, there are rumors, there's a lot shared about racism in the South and how people will respond. There's, you know, there's been some ugliness that has brewed in our country in the last few years that makes you aware that racism is still alive. And I was just afraid of what that would look like to my daughter in 2022.
She's quite literally saying all the lines. She invoked the last couple of years. That's an Orange Man Bad reference. And again, it's just an absurdity stacked on top of an absurdity. They're the ones who benefited from this situation. They got all of the gain. They destroyed this girl's life. She's facing death threats and all kinds of problems. And again, I'll ask you, what is the appropriate punishment for being incredibly drunk and saying some bad syllables towards somebody? Honestly, obviously, she shouldn't have said any of that stuff. There should be some accountability, maybe a suspension from the school. But so far, we got banned from the campus, not going to be able to graduate despite the fact that she's a senior. She had to delete everything off of Instagram, basically had to ghost the whole world. She's probably in hiding, receiving death threats and all these things. Like, at what point do we point out that everybody, 100%, all the institutions are on your side, and this presumption that people were going to back her is just not rooted in reality. And if you believe that, you're either incredibly stupid, or what's actually happening here is that she's coached and she's lying, because obviously everybody knew as soon as they had that video. In the moment that that video was taken, you can hear it in the audio of the video that that blonde girl was going to be the ones who had her life ruined. Obviously, that's what we all know would be the outcome from this situation.
You just kiss your entire future away, babe.
Multiple times, she's hit me twice. She's kicked me in the stomach.
But we have to go and pretend like there was actually hurt feelings here, or there was actually a fear that the white supremacy was coming to get them, when we all know that's just not the case. There's no backing for that in reality.
You always hope you're not going to be part of a story like this. Sophia Rosing's attorney says that she is, Kylah, humiliated, embarrassed, and remorseful by this incident. What do you say to that?
I say that there is an opportunity for growth in this situation. And I also say that this is an opportunity for not just her to grow and educate herself, but people who might have acted similarly or think similarly to her.
Nobody wants to be involved in that situation. Oh, what's your GoFundMe at? $17,000? How sad. Let's talk about the girl who was humiliated and all that in her statement, and let's get your response to her, which is going to grant no grace because obviously you don't care about her. I mean, if this girl took her own life, do you think Kylah would say anything? Do you think her mother would say anything? No, they got their paycheck, they got their national attention. They're probably going to get a scholarship for the University of Kentucky, all of her pay, even if she never shows up to work again, and all sorts of benefits for being involved in this national incident. They do not care about this girl's life. People value the anger over words rather than destroying another human person.
Sophia Rosing's attorney says that she is, Kylah, humiliated, embarrassed, and remorseful by this incident. What do you say to that?
I say that there is an opportunity for growth in this situation. And I also say that this is an opportunity for not just her to grow and educate herself, but people who might have acted similarly or think similarly to her.
Again, she's still fighting back laughter. She's still fighting back the smile. She's supposed to be somber and I'm this great victim and woe is me, this was so sad and all that. But you could see on her face that she knows and she knew in the moment that she was going to destroy that girl for her own personal profit, for her own personal gain. And she talks about how this is a good moment for not just her, but for people that think like her to reflect and grow from this situation. Let's be clear about what Sophia did in that scenario. Again, still wrong, still shouldn't have done it. There's still some level of accountability even when you're drunk. But what happened was she was trying to go home. She was trying to get into her dorm. This girl was blocking her from doing so. She wanted to see her ID. Sophia didn't present her ID, whatever. That's the situation. That's the prelude. That's how we got to that point. So because she was angry, because she wanted to go up to her room, she decided that she was going to try to hurt this person verbally. So that's why she reached for those words. It wasn't about evil white racism or anything like that. She was trying to call her something that would hurt her feelings because she was angry and she was drunk, so her better judgment was compromised. That's what went on. This idea that, oh, I'm doing this for the racial healing of Sophia. No, you're not. You're doing this for your own personal profit, and you don't care how bad her life gets as a consequence because you don't see her as a person. Ironically, the actual racist in this scenario is you because you are profiting off of this. Your friends all knew you were going to do this in the moment. It's a great moment for you, and you feel justified in doing this. You feel justified in destroying somebody's life for your own personal gain, based solely on the color of the person's skin that you're dealing with. That's the only reason that you are able to justify this in your mind. That's the only reason that anybody on TV is playing along with this farce, because everybody's buying into this racism, because it's too good of a story to talk about a pretty white girl being an evil white racist. Let's ignore some of the finer details because we got a square peg to fit in a circular hole.
How has it changed you? I'm not even going to say has it changed you. I would assume that it has changed you.
Again, she's just laughing throughout the course of the interview, fighting back a smile the whole time. And we're asked, oh, how did this change you? I'm not even going to ask if this changed you, but how did it change you? And her answer is ridiculous.
It's changed my outlook on how often that situations like this happen. Obviously, I've seen things like this in the news and I've heard about it, but you never really know how common of an occurrence it is until it happens to you.
Oh, it just showed me that this happens all the time. Racism happening all the time, everywhere, all the time, everything like that. And, you know, there's just more and more opportunities for people like me to grift off of it and make money off of it and make money playing the victim. I'm holding back my smile, but ain't I stunning and brave? Yeah, so anyway, this is what I really think about this story. I think that what she did to that blonde girl was cruel. She knew that this girl was drunk, blasted out of her mind. She shouldn't have said those things. Obviously, that's level 0 of the conversation. Let's get past that. But she decided to exact revenge on her for profit, and she can barely contain herself in her jubilation for destroying another person. I think this is wrong. I think it's immoral. I think that the way that we incentivize the monetization of these kind of outcomes is shameful. It's a reflection of the weakness and the white guilt that runs rampant in the country, and it's ridiculous and absurd. But again, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like this video, show me by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on all my social media, support me via the support links in the description box of this video. This has been me talking about a newly minted race hustler out of Kentucky. Till next time.